Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. I want to talk about reclaiming time and redirecting it towards economically beneficial activities, things that will that you can, a chance to look at what you're doing on a daily basis and redirect time towards goals like wealth building and building your financial health. So I sort of used this technique a little bit in college, and it was very easy to apply. I'm going to present this technique and tell you how to follow it, and it's pretty straightforward. In college, recall that all of our time was and activities were pretty scripted, driven by the class schedule. We had certain classes we had to attend, we had to get studying done, and because of that structure, and we got a lot done in the minimum amount of time, 4 or 5 years, depending on your degree, your program. After college, though, there's less structure. There's no longer classes to attend, and you can go through life, going to work and having recreation, and momentum carries you along, and you start not thinking about your goals. You can start drifting. So this technique is intended to eliminate drifting, because time can really get behind you, right? If you think about 10 years ago in 2015, if you try to remember the goals you had in 2015, you can ask yourself, okay, 10 years ago, what were the things that I'd wanted for myself? Have I attained those? Have I gotten those? Have I attained those goals? And if you didn't, you may have drifted a bit. You may have become, gotten caught up in the momentum of just moving along. I mean, if you're working a decent career and you've got an income and you're doing the normal things people do, it can be easy to let the momentum carry you along. So what I want to do is present this pretty simple method to break out of that and redirect time towards sort of add some structure back to your time and devote more time to your goals, especially if they're economic, if they're wealth building or net worth building. So here's what I do. It's very straightforward. Track your activities in a log. In my case, I have a daily log. I have each hour, I note my activities for each hour for the whole day. And for each hour, the activities that I'm doing, I just make a note. I'm not super religious about it. I don't write down every last thing that I do each hour, but the big things that are time sinks, the things that are taking time, I write those down. So I've got this log. At the end of the week, I review the log. And if you can notice time that, you might look at it and say, that was wasted time. That was unproductive time. That was a lot of recreation there. And I've got these goals. I've got these economic goals. I've got a net worth goal. I've got an income goal I really want to attain. Look at that week that I spent there. I've got 10 to 20 hours of downtime that could have been devoted towards my goals. So the objective here is you start tracking your activities in a log on your phone or a piece of paper or a little notebook you carry around, writing it down with a pen or something. Review the log at the end of each week. Notice which time you can look at and say, I'm going to stop doing that particular activity, at least for that length of time. I mean, you don't want to get super religious about this. You want to allow yourself some breathing room to have some free time, right? But you can look at your activities and say, I'm going to reduce the amount of time I spend doing that and redirect it towards my goals. Because if you went 10 years and you did not achieve your goals from 2015, that's a big problem, because that's a lot of time. Time can get behind you. And it's not that difficult to do this, to note your activities. Each week, at the end of the week, just drop the useless activities and redirect that time towards your goals. I'll give you some ideas about what to do, how to do that part also. But first, what I want to do is make everybody realize what your time is worth. If you start with the year that you made the most money, the highest income, just remember what year that was and how much money that was. Divide that amount by 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours is 50 weeks of the year, 40 hours a week, right? That's a standard work week with 2 weeks for vacation per year. So we're not going over the top with this tracking everything, but basically most of us work 50 weeks, 40 hours a week. So divide the maximum money you made in one particular year by 2,000, and you end up with your worth per hour. And here's an example. Let's say you made $5 million one year. You made $5 million. That was your best year. $5 million divided by 2,000 hours. That's a rational work schedule for the entire year. 50 weeks, 2 weeks vacation, 40 hours a week. That's $2,500 an hour. If you made $5 million, you divide by 25. 2,000 hours, you get 2,500 an hour. That's what your worth per hour is. That's what you're worth. And you know that's what you're worth because you proved it. You actually did that. You can say to yourself, my time is worth $2,500 every hour. How do I know that? Because I actually did it, right? And maybe this is 500,000, maybe it's 50,000. You know, whatever the case is, divide the most you made in any 1 year by 2,000 and get your worth per hour. And knowing that number, calculate your own worth per hour. If you think your worth per hour is too low, then you should follow this activity. Start logging your activities every week. Replace the waste time with new activities to pursue your goals that lead to higher income and net worth building. So it's a pretty straightforward technique. It's basically, we know how we got through college. We had some structure. We were disciplined about how we spent our time. And all I'm saying is, let's reintroduce that to some degree. I mean, in college, you were pretty, especially if you wanted to get good grades because you wanted to get into grad school, which was, my situation. You can really end up getting a lot done in a short amount of time. And all I'm saying is, let's reintroduce that to some degree without going overboard, so that we're devoting the time so that this doesn't happen, so that we don't go 10 years drifting and not having achieved the goals that we wanted back in 2015. So you've gone through this, you've calculated your worth per hour. You should start this exercise, start tracking your activities in a log. And just to let you know, this is kind of unending. You keep doing this because you can slip back into this. You can go for a short period of time or a longer period of time and everything's kosher. And then you start tracking it again. You start seeing, okay, some wasted time snuck back in there. So what sort of things are the time wasters in most people's lives? Television, TV watching, time you've spent on the phone, time you spend texting. This can be a biggie. Oversleeping, overeating, because that robs you of energy. If you're sleeping too much, and especially if you're overeating, that robs your energy. You can replace those activities with exercise, and you end up having more energy. But these are the most common things that eat people's time. And again, keep in mind, I'm not going overboard with this. As I said, the plan is 50 weeks out of the year with 2 weeks a year vacation, 40 hours a week, a normal work schedule. Now, if you're self-employed, if you don't work a regular job, and you work a lot more than 40 hours, what I'm saying is still use this as a metric, just to have something to compare it to over time, because the amount of time you spend at work, if you're self-employed, fluctuates. But if you stick with a standard like this, you can compare it over time and you can decide if you're spending too much time. And just to let you know, if you look at these, or whatever your particular reasons for spending time that's unproductive are, it's may be nothing on this list. What you want to say to yourself is, okay, as an example, I spent 30 hours on these activities. I'm going to reclaim 15 of those hours and devote those towards my goals. So let me give you an example. If you're, let's say you go through this process, you recapture 10 hours, 15 hours a week, but you're not sure how to redeploy that time. You're not sure how to use that extra time you now have because you might be uncertain. This happens to a lot of people. You've got some ideas of how to improve your wealth, your income. You're not quite sure though. So if you're uncertain, if you hesitate or you're indecisive about what to do with time that you've recaptured, here's a couple of things that I do. The first thing I do, I did this before I went to college. I talk to people in the field I'm thinking about entering to see how they like it, to see if it fits me. And then the next step is to take a course. You can take an introductory course and find out immediately if that activity is good for you, if you like it, if you enjoy it enough, and you can say, I can see myself doing that for an extended period, on a regular basis. And then it also tells you, okay, I don't like this, I'm going to have to try something else. But that's kind of the model. If you're indecisive about how to use that extra time that you recover, you just say, I'm going to make a list of possibilities. I'm going to make a list of things that might increase my wealth, might increase my income, and I'm going to go down that list. Step one, I'm going to talk to somebody working in that area. That's what I did. It worked quite well because I talked to people and I said, that does sound good. The income's good. It seems like there's demand for that sort of activity. I'm going to, and so I took a couple of courses. I liked it, and I ended up doing quite well in that career. That was my software engineering career, my first career. And that's basically what you do. You create a list of possible activities. And you talk to people in that field, and then take a course and decide if that fits you. Obviously, if you talk to 10 people who are working in that area and they say it sucks, then you move to the next thing on the list. But if everyone, or the majority of people you talk to say, yeah, it's cool. It works out well. It's not perfect, but it's got a lot of good things going for it. And here's what the good things are. Then you can take a class in it. You can take an online course And here's some examples. Let's say that you like numbers. You're an accounting sort of person. Warren Buffett, he's always said that the most important skill you can have is accounting for building wealth. He's right. I went back to graduate school. I got a master's in business administration. I really enjoyed the accounting, and it's come in handy. So if you say to yourself, I'm a numbers person, let me talk to people who are working in that field. Maybe you like the taxation part of it. Maybe you like the business accounting part, maybe bookkeeping. Talk to people who are doing that, and then take one course, an introductory course. You can do that online. See if you like it. And if both of those things work out, then you're on to something. You can then move to the next thing in your list. Let's say you like marketing. You think you might like to get into marketing, digital marketing, online marketing. Maybe be the next Alex Hormozy. You can talk to people working in that area, because that's a pretty fluid area, especially with artificial intelligence right now. But you can talk to people working in the field, take an online course, see if it fits you. And so you basically create a list of possibilities for how to spend this time you've recovered. You stop wasting a certain portion of your time. Let's move into something that will make us a higher income or additional income and increase our net worth. If you're thinking about real estate, you can talk to realtors. A lot of them own rental properties. What's it like owning rental properties? Does it pay well over time? Is it a good way to build wealth? Answer yes to all those, in my opinion. And then you can take an online course in what landlording is like. And so basically, the first step, though, is to figure out where your time is going. If you went 10 years and you ended up not achieving any of those goals, you can fix that. This is a way to fix it. Let's figure out where we're wasting the time. Let's cut out the activities that we're unhappy spending time on, and do something productive. Make a list of things that might work, that might increase our net worth, our wealth, might increase our income. Talk to people, and then go down the list. Talk to people in the field, take an online course or a course at a junior college or something, and figure out if it will fit. So that's basically the idea. Is when in college we got a lot done in the minimum amount of time. There was a lot of structure. We were not allowed to waste time. There were always deadlines. But once you graduate, there's less structure, and you can start drifting. And that's why this happens. You go 10 years and you've missed your goals. And it's a very painful thing. I mean, I'll warn you in advance. Once you do this, the very first week, it can be a little bit painful because you really don't think about this from day to day. You go 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. Okay, the week's over. If you start looking at how you're spending your time, it can be a little bit. It's very revealing. When you realize, okay, I am drifting. At least a part of my activities, I'm going to have to call that drifting, because I have goals, and I do not want to go 10 years and not reach goals again. If you have any questions about this, I do use this approach myself. It's very simple. Tracking activities it takes very little time. It takes very little effort. You can do it on your phone. And then at the end of the week, make sure you judiciously assess how you spent that time. And don't be afraid to put different levels of wasting time. I mean, some things can be more important than others, like playing. If you have pets or if you have kids, that's definitely not wasting time, because you're helping them in their life. But there are some things like television, time on the phone, texting, oversleeping, and others that, because here's my opinion about this recreation thing, about how much recreation do we really need. We had 18 years of life, our first 18 years, to be somewhat unproductive. I mean, obviously in high school, you're getting ready for college. But the time to play, you had 18 years to play. How much more time do you need, right? After age 18, you've had a solid can you imagine going another 18 years and not really getting a lot done? Because how much money, how much wealth did you build in those first 18 years? After age 18, it is time to build wealth. You're going to get to a certain point in your life when you're older. You will not be able to work. You cannot have too much money, in my opinion, for those times, right? When you can no longer earn income. And this is the time to set yourself up. Here's one way to do it. Just reduce your wasted activity time and refocus it on goal setting. And you can use the approach I described to figure out what are the next logical steps for you in terms of activities that will help you increase your income and net worth. If you have any questions, I do use this myself. I'd be happy to answer if you post in the comments. And I really want to thank everyone for watching. Have a great day.